presenters. And that we will start within 2 minutes. I've already made you presenters, Amar and Kristin. So I don't know if you know how to share your screen.
Yes, I think Amar is going to be sharing our slides.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be great. So maybe we can just wait just a minute, so that everyone that would have wanted to see your session, they will be in the session. Before I'm just going to say a few words to introduce yourselves.
Well, are you able to see the slides?
Yes.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, we move now into our final session of the day in this track, which explores a timely and thought-provoking question: is it ethical to use AI for this assignment? Student perspectives. I think that's a question that we all have. So please welcome Dr. Amar Kanekar and Dr. Kristin Mann from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, as they share their research and insights on the students' perspectives on AI and ethics in assignments. So will you please introduce yourselves to us and then start with your presentation? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kristin Mann, and I am a professor of history and the social studies education coordinator at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock.
Yeah, and my name is Amar Kanekar, and I'm a professor of health education promotion at School of Counseling, Human Performance and Rehabilitation at the same university. And I'll let Dr. Mann start with the presentation.
Okay, so good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're located. Mar and I are part of a group of faculty from across different academic disciplines that began meeting in the summer of 2023 to discuss generative AI, particularly large language models, and the changes that they were bringing to our courses. Several of us incorporated instruction about large language models into our courses in the spring and summer of 2023. And our experiences doing this prompted a research project to explore student perceptions of using generative AI in college assignments. This group focused our research inquiry on student perceptions of the ethics of AI use, and the aims of our investigation were to stimulate a campus discussion about large language models in higher education and career preparation, to expose students and faculty to content and questions surrounding the ethical use of LLMs, and to generate questions and directions for future research. Next, yeah, there we go. We live in a world where technology is second nature to our students. So 86% of our respondents reported being comfortable using technology for education. But when they were asked about the use of large language models in their education, fewer than 50% responded that they had some familiarity, with the number of students who were familiar with the technology increasing over time through spring 2025 when our survey ended. Qualitative responses included a wide spectrum of knowledge and experience, from those who know very little about large language models, such as a student who responded, "It's something high tech," all the way to those who understand the computer science behind AI tools very well and use them frequently. Students' knowledge and experience gaps are also about understanding the ethical slippery slope on which the use of AI tools in academic work is perched. This is particularly important in an institution like ours, where we have a number of completely online degree programs, and even our face-to-face campus students often enroll in online courses. Next. Much research in journalism, including many of the presentations in this conference, have shown us ways that generative AI can assist with learning, such as chatbots that explain complex information, Grammarly and Quillbot, which help students proofread and polish their writing, GitHub, which helps students check their coding, and some of the Adobe and Canva tools, Midjourney, DALL-E, Sora, and other tools to create visual and video content. But misuse of AI tools, particularly copy-paste plagiarism, which we all began to experience in our courses, particularly in more recent semesters, raised serious concerns about what students understand about academic integrity. We wanted to interrogate our assumptions about student views on ethical behavior related to large language model use in classes. Our faculty group created materials, a video and a slide deck with questions and examples to explain LLMs and their academic uses, including brainstorming, locating information, synthesis, drafting, and revision. We also conducted faculty workshops about the uses of the LLMs, including time for discussion about where LLM use fit within our university's academic integrity policy. We provided students with our survey prior to the use of instructional materials, and then they learned about the various LLM uses for academic work, as well as our university's existing academic integrity policy. We had time for class discussion about the ethics of AI use in college work, or students discuss these questions via our LMS discussion board. At the conclusion of the instructional materials, students completed an assignment in which they generated and analyzed an LLM response to a question they had been studying in class. So for example, in my class on the history of US Latin American relations, students read our course materials about the Bay of Pigs invasion in Cuba, and then they prompted ChatGPT or Gemini to tell them the causes and consequences of the invasion from a variety of perspectives. Afterwards, they compared and analyzed the responses. Our study asked, what are the student perceptions of the ethics of large language model use in college coursework? Can move, there we go. We included Likert scale and open-ended questions to gauge student views. One section included demographic questions about students' majors, ages, academic level, and grade point averages. Another asked students questions about their familiarity with the use of LLMs such as ChatGPT in academic settings and their views on the ethical uses of LLMs in different categories: brainstorming, locating information, synthesis, writing drafts, writing bibliographies, and editing. While we initially hoped to test the efficacy of our teaching materials and assignment in increasing student awareness about AI tools and ethical questions, we weren't successful in testing the intervention because we didn't have enough pre and post surveys. However, my personal experience with intentionally setting up faculty and classroom conversations about the ethics and efficacy of large language model use gives me hope that this is a small way to encourage us all to stop and think about our purpose and the potential effects on learning before we use these tools. Next. Over the duration of the past several years, improvements in AI technology have made it so that it is possible for an AI agent to complete an online course. So our discussion of ethics has intensified on campus, particularly related to fully online courses, given that AI detection tools are not foolproof, and some of our student responses indicated that students worry about being falsely accused of plagiarism. As a history professor, we just finished our program and core assessment for the last academic year, and we're seeing about 10 to 20% of work in our courses in which we suspect that a student has used AI tools to write or significantly revise short answer questions and essay assignments, and the percentages are higher for fully online courses. Although our survey collection period has ended, we continue our efforts to educate faculty and students and to encourage more conversation and consideration about ethics when making decisions about using AI tools in courses. So next page, we have on the next slide, we have the academic integrity policy from our student handbook. Our students are perhaps similar to some of yours in we have a mix of traditionally aged students, mostly from urban areas in Central Arkansas, and also non-traditional older and working students from all over the state, many of whom are taking a full-time class load while also trying to work part-time or full-time. Our campus currently has no specific AI policies, although faculty have been encouraged to address AI use in our syllabi. Many on our campus grapple with ethical dilemmas regarding AI in education. It's not clear to me as an employee when or how or if its use is allowed. And so it's kind of wild, wild west. Anybody can do whatever they want with it right now. For students, some classes require its use, but some forbid it. Different courses, even in the same department, have varying policies, some written in the syllabus and some inferred based on these remarks about collusion and plagiarism in our student handbook. And now I'll turn it over to Amar.
And I'll just, from this point, I'm going to start sharing results. So these are the responses of students to open-ended questions on the survey, and you can read that. And currently, so when we did implement this survey, we had open-ended questions as well as quantitative questions. So we had a mix of quantitative and qualitative. So these were some of the qualitative responses, as you see on the slide. And then when we looked at our survey participants, as you heard, it was a kind of a mixed sample from STEM as well as non-STEM disciplines. And one of the questions which was asked to start with, are they comfortable using technology? And most were. And then as you saw, the smaller percentage said they were somewhat familiar with the usage of large language models. And then when we went into the specifics of why would they be using LLMs, brainstorming ideas came out, like from the majority were in that group, and then locating information, editing drafts, and they said that they agreed that it was ethical to use LLMs for brainstorming ideas, locating information, and editing drafts for the most part. And then this is a bar chart which shows the percentage of respondents agreeing to these statements. And this is what we pretty much asked them about: brainstorming, information, drafts. Are you okay with editing and usage of bibliography? Though there was some confusion on the bibliography part because they construed it in a different way since it was a mixed kind of population. This slide just adds a little bit to our discussion, which I have seen in some of the presentations yesterday and today, is what's the difference between human and an LLM model. And for me, the difference is pretty much that both have their strengths and weaknesses. So LLMs are good at analyzing vast amount of information and generating results, being very efficient, whereas humans are good at sensory perception, effective modeling, and empathy, and those kind of skills. And then there are weaknesses along with that as well. Like LLMs can't do much of that, and humans are not able to pretty much generate this kind of information. So those are some of the differences when we are looking at LLMs and humans. So we always have said, and I've heard this with others as well, that when someone uses an LLM, one has to have a human control or oversight when one is using an LLM. So just to sum up everything, as this slide says, majority of our students agreed upon ethical and unethical uses. So most students know kind of, or they have that perception of what ethical is. And by ethical, most of them, they said they're fine with brainstorming and drafting and things, whereas plagiarism or copying is completely unethical. And then as Dr. Mann mentioned, that instructors should clearly state their AI use policies, as well as discuss and demonstrate ethical and unethical uses in their respective fields, because it's what we saw was with STEM fields, it was very different compared to non-STEM fields. And what we have seen and we are seeing is those in STEM field are very comfortable using AI. In fact, they're encouraging the students to use AI for coding and other applications. Whereas in non-STEM fields, it's kind of a mixed kind of a picture. And finally, when we looked at, and we have looking at the research literature, what is happening currently, pretty much it looks, most studies which I have researched or reviewed at this point have a similar kind of a picture, that students use it more for brainstorming ideas and academic support, while the beliefs of academic misconduct is pretty much what we have seen as well, is writing entire essays or severe violations compared to using it just for grammar check or sentence correction. And that is what I'm seeing across up to this point. So in a nutshell, instructors' programs should clarify specific acceptable and unacceptable uses for LLMs in academic work. And we don't have a policy, as you heard, at this point, but we are kind of moving in that direction. Campuses should hold interdisciplinary conversations about ethics, as introduce more AI in the curriculum and workplace, because this is something which I'm also seeing in a lot of research across, that students are want to use AI, but they don't have enough AI literacy or ethics literacy related to how should they go about using it. So these are, in brief, some of the summarizing points from our study. And I'll thank the organizers and the audience for giving us this opportunity to present our research and then open up to questions.
Thank you so much for this insightful presentation. I want to know, are there any questions from the floor? You've really touched on something that we are very concerned about, the AI use of our students in the assignments and everything. And what I've realized also is that the students are scared, that they don't know how they can use it. And so then I also agree that there should be very good policies and everything set out. But the problem is, I think that AI develops so quickly that I don't know how we are going to keep up with doing policies and everything. I don't know, does anybody in the room have an idea or have some recommendations about that? Or did you have maybe, Amar?
Well, I mean, we know that that's an ongoing challenge, and the more research we look at, it's, as you said, it's so fast changing and evolving. So if you have a policy at this point, it's going to probably change in a month, kind of. That quick pace things are. So I really don't have any ideas at this point, because it's a challenge.
Yeah. So if you have to give us one insight or recommendation that you think educators or institutions should take away, whether it's about ethics or supporting students or practical classroom strategies, what will it be?
Well, as I mentioned, based on what our research, as well as based on what literature I've reviewed, one thing is that students need guidance. They need more information about AI literacy, ethics literacy, what it means for them as well as for the institutions, and how critical thinking is going to change with AI. Because what we have been talking about, critical thinking in the past, is going to look different with AI, and they need to also, along with this kind of information and training, they need to be guided and trained on how to use AI such that it improves their not just the literacy and ethics literacy, but critical thinking. So, and that's going to be different in this world, because now they have to know what could be the errors with AI usage, what are hallucinations, how they can look for those, how they can correct those, modify those, and Yeah, so those are different skills probably which they are going to need in years ahead. And I'll ask Dr. Mann if he has anything to add.
I think the most important thing that I would recommend is that we try to teach all of ourselves to stop and make a 10 to 30-second judgment before using an AI tool to determine what purpose we're using it for and what effect it's going to have, not only on our own learning, but on other people around the world. And if we'll do that small cost-benefit analysis, informed analysis, understanding how the AI tools work, I think that might decrease some of the cognitive offloading that we're seeing going on.
Thank you so much to both of you for a really insightful presentation. So as we wrap up this day, we invite you all to join us for the closing and prize giving session, where we'll celebrate participants, announce our lucky draws, and share something exciting, exciting prizes. So please make your way to the next session, and let's end this day on a high